Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Justin McRoberts. This is a podcast on and with which I hope to help you navigate the turbulent waters of life. Usually where those waters are kind of colliding between the arts and faith, sometimes commerce and leadership. Sometimes we do that by interviewing some folks. We've got some great interviews coming up in the next several weeks, several months. But more often than not, I'm picking questions from Instagram, from you, so that I'm actually speaking more directly to the stuff that you are facing in life. So I'm going to grab some questions from this week's Instagram haul and dive in, beginning with this fascinating question. What holds you back? What holds you back? I had so many wonderful thoughts in relationship to this question. The one was immediately the first thing I thought of was the thing that holds me back is disorganization. If I'm not organized, if I don't have my ducks in a row, if I don't know which step comes next, or which step is most important, I tend to get a little bit lost. And so disorganization or like not being prioritized, not being organized, and not being a very organized person in a lot of ways, and then not having great priorities. When I get my priorities jumbled up and I can't tell which thing's most important, that holds me back. Sometimes, though, and this is the deeper part of this question, the deeper part of the answer to the question. I wonder when we get into these conversations about like what's holding you back, what's keeping you from being like fully self-actualized. I wonder if that consideration, that concern, not to say that this is where the person who asked the question is coming from, but I wonder if that concern culturally and individually might not be rooted in like an actual interest in flourishing, and might be like rooted in something more like ego or comparison or something like that. In other words, or thanklessness, that I look around my life and I'll see what I have on hand, I'll see what's going on, and I will expect or want or wish that there was more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but depending on how couches itself in my spirit, that the desire to what's holding me back, it might be a good thing. In other words, the thing holding me back might be wisdom in my life, in my culture, in my body. What if I'm being held back by what if I'm being spiritually, emotionally held back because elements in my own spirit, elements in my culture, elements in my mind are actually trying to turn me back inward to say, pay attention to what we have. Start with thankfulness instead of ambition. So instead of this thankless, ambitious drive forward to what's next, what's keeping you from getting to what's next, what if we hit pause and turned inward and looked at what we have and what we've actually accomplished? Sometimes what's holding me back is a good thing. So this is I'm recording this a few days after Father's Day. I ran a race on Father's Day in San Francisco, and I had expectations for how the race was going to go. There was a time I wanted to run during this race. I will caveat this by saying I don't win races. I run races. I don't win them. I shouldn't even call them races. This is just a run. There are ways I wanted to go. I'm not fast, and I don't win. But I wanted to finish in a certain time. And beginning at mile, 4, right around mile 4, there was a very, very long hill. It was hundreds and hundreds of feet. There's thousands of feet. It was hundreds of feet. It was 400, almost 500 feet. And I could tell because of the hill, I was going slower than my anticipated desired pace. So I guess in one way you could say the hill was holding me back, but not really. My body was holding me back. So I started pushing. And sometimes in athletics and in life, it is helpful and good to push through, and sometimes it's not. So as I'm pushing, I'm running a bit harder. I start to feel a little dizzy and I might throw up. Like I said, sometimes it's good to push through, and sometimes what's holding me back is my body saying, if you do this right now, you're gonna suffer, and we don't want you to suffer in this way. All that to say, I wonder sometimes if our dreams and our aspirations are actually rooted in a kind of thankfulness for what already exists and in an ambition that blinds us to the goodness of life as it is. And we're not really being held back from what's next. We're being invited into introspection and contemplation. So that's what stirred in me on that question. This person wrote in and said, I've been a Christian for 50 years. I woke up recently feeling like the whole Bible is a scam. What now? It's a hand grenade of a question. The answer I gave this person was to make some time with a spiritual director, get help with this question, and instead of go fix it, this was the actual the more substantial part of the answer, and like, let's make some time with the spiritual director to see where those feelings lead. In other words, don't immediately say yes to that feeling. I feel like the whole Bible is a scam. I've been a Christian for 50 years, woke up, I feel like it's all a bunch of crap. Okay. You don't have to say yes to that feeling. You can welcome that feeling. Say, okay, here's the thing I'm feeling. So don't just say yes as a bunch of crap. Also, don't just say no, that's not true and I need to chase this out of me. Part of what we do in spiritual direction is like, let's find out what that is in you, not so we can go chase it down and kill it, but like where is that coming from in you? What are the questions your soul is asking? Maybe there are some really specific things. So when you say the whole Bible, I'm doubting you mean the whole Bible, right? What I'm wondering is if there are aspects of the story you've been told and taught in the hermeneutics through which you've received the teachings, because that's almost always what we get is not the scriptures. We get someone else's interpretation of the scriptures. I'm wondering if you're waking up to the realization that someone's hermeneutic, a particular interpretation or a specific interpretation or angle on the Bible is problematic to you, or is there specific teaching? I'm not saying that's necessarily true, and I wouldn't even pretend to know what that might be. But normally when we have these like massive explosions of feeling about something that's important to us, it's a little bit like an emotional, spiritual shock. Like I go into shock. It's everything all of a sudden. And my whole body hurts. My whole life hurts. Everything is wrong. When we feel that way, it's kind of a shock. And like pay attention to it and don't make a lot of decisions when we're in that space. And then get someone's help to go dig in and follow the thread of those feelings to where they're actually coming from, because I'm going to guess they're coming from some really specific places. Here's part of what's going on in my mind. There's actually like biblical precedent for these things. So when we talk about, I taught recently about, I referenced the Apostle Paul, who before he was the Apostle Paul was a man named Saul, who not only did he not believe in Jesus, like later in life, here's Paul who writes all these letters and basically like starts the church. Before that, he not only didn't believe in Jesus, he like countered it. He thought Jesus was a liar. He thought the whole way movement was like anti-biblical. He thought it was all wrong. Then he got knocked off his horse, as you might not understand the story, and like was blind for a while. He couldn't see. The people around him didn't understand what was going on, so he wasn't recognizable to the folks around him. Like he was fundamentally, comprehensively disoriented. And the thing he did was instead of make a bunch of decisions about what to do next, he allowed himself to be guided by someone else. All that to say that there is biblical precedent for the kind of disorientation that says, I've been a Christian for 50 years. I woke up and I feel like the whole thing is a scam. The whole Bible is a scam. Follow that feeling, but go with someone who can help you trust your own feelings and can help you arrive at the actual conclusions and hear the actual things your spirit is saying. Because you're probably still going to work within your filters. And you're probably going to still be interpreting your guts through the filters that you've been taught. So get someone else who has different filters who can help you see yourself. Trust that feeling, but follow where it leads instead of make decisions from a place of existential shock. This question is fascinating. Tips for management and executive functioning. Tips for time management and executive functioning for for autistic and ADHD people, I live with ADHD. This is part of why I get these questions, and I have so many tips. So many, because I'm constantly cycling through them. So I'll say this thing first. Like, there are tips and tricks, but it's never really about the tips and tricks. The tips and tricks are interchangeable. They should be interchangeable, because not everything works all the time. When I am dysregulated and I can't keep my mind focused on what I want to keep my mind focused on, it's not always good to like do the same thing that worked last time. That's a big caveat. So develop a list of things. Like, the main tip here is like, have a bunch of tricks in a bag that you can reach into. So one example is like, take some time away if you possibly can. Here's some things that I do: get outside, go get in your body. One of the issues with me is, if I'm in my head, I'm in the office, I'm looking at my computer right now. If I'm in my head, I'm in my office, and I'm trying to like accomplish a thing, like everything kind of closes in on me, and my world gets about this big. So I don't have like kind of the creative, or entrepreneurial like angle on the project, which is actually what makes me valuable in doing the project. And what I need to do is I need to get some altitude. So I need to like get away from the thing, and getting outside, go being in my body, even if it's like, I'll take off and go for like a quick, like 15-minute walk, or like I'll just literally run around the block or go get outside. So that's one trick. Another trick has to do with making lists. I mentioned earlier, like, one of the things that can hold me back, it has to do with organization. Time management is not as big a deal for me, and I'll tell you why in a second. But like, prioritization is a mad issue. And so making lists is a trick. Like, I will stop and make a brand new list. I will literally like grab I don't have one right here. I will actually just grab a piece of paper. Sometimes it'll be a Post-it note, and then with this, I'll grab a Post-it note, and I'll just start writing down, like, here are the things that I know I need to do. And then I have to do like this kind of wild thing was, I just have to pick a thing. I'll just decide which thing I'm going to do, because I think I'm right about my priorities, and then I get all kind of jumbled up. But usually it's not about like picking the right thing. I just have to get moving again. So like, time management, how am I spending my time? I will waste time if I'm trying to pick the right thing to do, and I'll keep from getting moving at all. So making a list and then picking a thing. The other piece of this about time management, scheduling time to schedule time. So this is a little bit meta. I will make regular time once a month, and I will sit down with my calendar, and I'll look over like the next like 2 or 3 months, and I will map out like, these are the days that I'm either going to be finished with something or work on something. So I'll block out time to work on stuff, or I will like pick a date, sometimes arbitrarily, to say this is when I'm going to be finished with it. I have to schedule time to actually schedule the time, if that makes any sense. So I've got to get above the calendar and put on the calendar, these are the days I'm going to be spending time on the calendar. Those are some tips and tricks. The biggest deal, though, is like, nothing works every time. For folks like me, and if you're watching, listening, you live with ADHD or autism, and if you are at all someone who struggles in these same ways, again, get help. This is part of why I coach folks, is learning yourself. You can't just develop a system and plug it in and make it work. You have to like grow to know yourself, and that almost always takes some help from the outside. So like, message a homie and let's get some sessions in, and like develop some I don't know, call them coping mechanisms, some practices that can help you. They're available, but you're gonna have to find a few and work them out. This is a great question. Advice on discovering and developing new artistic and creative outlets. I'm reading this great new book by Austin Kleon. I'm actually reading it for the second time. Super short book called "Don't Call It Art." We'll put a link to it in the notes for the show, but the show notes. And part of what he gets at is he's Austin Kleon's remembering the COVID shutdowns and the creativity of his kids. He was watching his kids like get creative and use their time creatively, and remembering what it was like to make art, to be creative when as a child when we were like less attached to our outcomes. The biggest, the most significant part of the book for me has to do with making it play again. Like, in other words, like making it fun again. If I'm not having fun, this is real. If I'm not having fun with something, I'm not going to do it well. When I feel this, the thing you're feeling, discovering, developing new artistic and creative outlets, oftentimes if I'm feeling the propulsion or the desire to go do something else, is because I'm bored with what I'm doing. And if I'm bored with what I'm doing, I've probably become a little bit too serious about it. So going and finding things that I can do playfully and do with some joy and do and have fun doing, which means instead of going out and looking for stuff that I know I can do, which is usually how we do it. Like, what's my skill set? What are the things I can apply myself to? I know I'm going to have some expertise. Instead, what do I actually enjoy taking in? What do I like reading? What do I like watching? What art, what creativity do I enjoy? And then trying that out. And that might feel audacious depending on what it is. It could be film. But if I can follow the threads of if I can follow the joy threads in my life to the things that to creative endeavors that I'm interested in doing, it might reignite the joy connection between me and my more serious or committed work. So picking something fun to do that is outside of your existing skill set. What do you like doing? So don't just pick something you know you can do. Go pick something you know you enjoy as a consumer, as a reader, as someone who kind of takes it in. I'm going to do one more question, then I want to reflect on something more personally. I'm going to do this one right here because this is one of the bits we've been in for a while. Response to pro AI folks who claim that skill and creativity can include the prompts that the AI prompts to generate art. So how do I respond to folks who are pro AI and who claim that the part of being creative includes allowing AI to prompt you? Okay. I'm generally anti AI because I think it steals our processes and it dehumanizes processes that are designed to make us more human, as opposed to processes that are designed to create results. So AI and AI models are designed to generate results. That is what the tool is designed for. And the more dependent we become on those tools, the more like those tools we become. In other words, I can get way deeper into this at another point. The tools we use and the environments in which we function do shape us. We are shaped by the tools we use. So if I start to use artificial intelligence and ChatGPT to prompt my creativity, I'm including an element that is not interested in me. It's not interested in my development. It's not interested in my creativity. It's interested in producing a result. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we're bypassing some of the work here. Is it awful, terrible? It's probably not awful, terrible. I don't know that it's healthy. Here's the question I would ask, though, is why are you not finding prompts in the world around you? So why isn't that happening with a group of people? Why isn't that happening in conversation with someone else? Instead of asking the computer, instead of asking software, why not send a text out? Why not go to Instagram and ask for some prompts? Watching improv actors stand up on the front of the stage and ask the audience for a prompt. This is the whole issue I have with the use of AI. It is constantly replacing functions that are better and wholer and holier and healthier if those things are human. Why aren't people prompting you? Why don't you trust the prompts of humans? Why is it easier to go to the device? I guess it's easier. Why are we choosing to go to the device instead of go through the device to the people on the other side, the actual people on the other side? 40,000 foot perspective, until we get to a place in which these systems, these models are not full-blown stealing from folks like me, I just don't know if I think it's comprehensively unethical to use them for our creative endeavors, because we're contributing to systems that are stealing the livelihood and the humanity of other persons. If I know that a system, I mean, this is wholesale. It has to do with the clothes I buy. If I know that I'm putting time, money, and energy into a system that is oppressing other people, if I'm conscious of that, that if I spend money on this company that I'm putting money on, I know that they are using slave labor to produce if I know that, then I'm participating in a system that's dehumanizing. And right now, that's what these AI companies and their models are doing. I did, and this is the thing I was going to reflect on. I did the thing and I went through the Atlantic watchdog search engine, and I plugged my name in. And there are AI databases. There's 3 or 4. If you look, you can look my name up, but you can see this too. You can verify what I'm saying. There are like 27, 30 like albums or songs of mine from like 12, 15 different records that AI has used to train itself. That's models, and like almost all of my books. So it has taken my creative output, plugged it into itself, so that if you ask it to do something in my name, do this in the voice of Justin McRoberts, it can do that because it has learned my voice. I'm so fundamentally, I'm just so uncomfortable with that as a function, because what you're doing is you're basically saying like we can get your work done without you. I mean, we're headed down a really, really bad path. So all this is an answer to like, I understand that the prompt might be helpful to you in some small way. I think the cost, you're not wrong. It's probably helpful. I think the cost, the price of using AI creatively to your own spirit, but also societally to the livelihood of artists and creatives, I just don't think it's worth it. Specifically the way the thing is shaped right now. Until we've got some safeguards in place, until some of these lawsuits are settled, I think we're participating in a system that's really, really bad news. And we're going to end on a bad note. So thank you for joining me on this episode of the Etsy podcast. Again, I'll be taking questions next week and Instagram. And if you'd like to be one of the folks who throws a question up here that might be helpful for other folks to pay attention to, then we'd love to have you. Until then.